Ryan Nelson, you're dead to me. I hope we're hot, Mike. Are we hot, Mike? Ryan Nelson, I swear to God, don't do that today. Don't do it. Yeah, here we go. We're going live here in a second. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hi, it's Eric Lindquist, Minnesota Viking fan extraordinaire. Welcome to the NBA, not NFL, thank God, live before lock show presented by Yahoo. I'm excited to be here. This is the greatest day ever. I've never been happier. And you know why? Not because of the Minnesota Vikings and the probability of them firing Mike Zimmer, but because we have Matt LaMarca, and I love doing shows with this guy. He's the only person who could put me in a jolly happy mood here. Jordan Klein behind the virtual glass was being mean. And then Matt LaMarca came in, saved the day with some Rounders quotes. And now we're ready to go talk some NBA. Follow him at Matt LaMarca on the Twitter sphere. How you doing, my guy?
Good. I've been described as jolly before. I do pick up some side work as a mall Santa during the season. So, yeah, it's good. It's a good time of year for me.
Okay, you can't just say that and there's no context. That's obviously a joke.
It's a joke. I could if I wanted to.
No, you couldn't. You're a beautiful soul.
I'm pretty well suited for the gig, if we're being honest.
I always wondered, like, there has to be a very strong vetting process for such things. You know what? I don't even care. I'm depressed, and I'm not even going to lie. I'm not going to have some shoot the shit commentary here at the beginning of the show where we go, "Oh,
it's my favorite part."
This is so funny because you know what? I'm pretty pissed off right now. Let's get to it, everybody. Let's hit the like button, the subscribe button. Make me happier by giving me likes. I'm vain like that. I need it. I need the attention. I want it. Here we go. Let's talk some NBA because, my God, if I have to talk NFL right now, it's not going to be pretty. So right off the bat, we have a ton of news that we are waiting on here. There's a lot of out tags. We have an unlimited amount of value. It's pretty much impossible to fill out a roster where you're going to use the old cap, especially if you get Trae Young ruled out here. And we're waiting on that news. We should have that because it's 6 p.m. Eastern time. It's going to be in. So we're going to sit around and wait for it all here together. But what are you paying attention to here, Matt LaMarca? What are some of the more important pieces of news you're waiting for on this slate?
I mean, really, the Hawks, we've only got 3 games, right? So the Hawks are really the only team we're looking for at this point, and we've got plenty to look for. They've listed Trae questionable, Kevin Huerter questionable, Cam Reddish is out, Bogdan is out. They've already got DeAndre Hunter out. So there would just be, like you said, an abundance of value available depending on how the whole situation with the Hawks shakes out. The Hawks are known for being liberal with their injury report. They like to list players as questionable. They seem to get their jollies from it. So I'm expecting Trae Young to be in and Kevin Huerter to be in, but who knows, right? It's a Sunday. Anything can happen. Well,
I will say if Trae Young ends up getting ruled in, he will be damn near. I mean, it's weird saying lock button. I don't know if you'd be lock button, but I will say that if you go to the boom bust tool and you see the positive leverage that's going towards Trae Young, people don't like clicking on guys with Q tags next to their name.
True.
It's a dude projected for nearly 50 points on a slate where salary doesn't really matter. He's the guy that I want to get to the absolute most. The reason I am begging for him to be in is I probably will just lock button him. I'm playing 20 lineups on both sites here, and I just find it impossible that you wouldn't play 100% of a guy who's projected for nearly 10 more points or close to 10 points more than the next guy on this slate, which is Brandon Ingram, Miles Bridges, a number of these guys. But of course, we have a massive, massive issue here with Charlotte, and they are going to be a major talking point of this slate. We go position by position, but we might as well just start there with the guards. LaMelo Ball, out. Safety protocols. Terry Rozier, out. What are we doing here with one of the pieces on this slate in Ish Smith, in Cody Martin, with some of these guards on the Charlotte side?
Yeah, Ish is somebody that in the past we've kind of been excited to use when we knew he was going to get playing time. This season, 0.68 DraftKings points per minute. Over the past month, 0.51. I don't necessarily care about those numbers all that much. He's at roughly 8.8 DraftKings points per minute with LaMelo and Rozier off the court this season. So I think he's fine, but I don't necessarily want to be, using a ton of him if he's going to be the chalk. Right now, we have him projected for 25% ownership on DraftKings. To me, like, that's a reasonable number. If he starts to tick up to, 30, 40 plus type percentage, then I will reconsider. But as things stand now, I think he's a pretty strong play.
We have infinity minutes. We have 55 minutes. And of course,
Literally
the biggest piece of news, we have infinity minutes to fill here. MJ, if Michael Jordan suited up tonight, how much would you roster of him if he was 7K?
0.
You would roster 0. You think a 50-plus-year-old Michael Jordan would not score in the NBA right now?
I didn't say that, but I think that just logically, right? We wouldn't expect him to come down and play 40 minutes, right?
25, 30. He's going to be a black hole. It's going to be beautiful. I would roster the crap out of him. Anyway, that was something to think of. Yosef Ramirez, thank you so much for the question. MJ would get some run, and that would be a beautiful thing. Yes, there's obviously blowout potential here, but if you don't have Trae Young in there, I got to say on the other side of it, plus it's only a 7-point spread here.
Yeah.
Miles Bridges still exists. You still have a number of these other guys, Gordon Hayward. I don't know why when these guys all play on the same basketball team that they end up not being close contacts when they're hanging out with them every day, but that's a different question for you.
Gordon's not invited to the late night hangs.
Oh, that's what it is. Yeah. Gordon, he goes back to his 5 daughters and, has another daughter. Have you seen his video, his reaction to the gender reveal?
No, but I can imagine it, I think.
Pull up the Gordon Hayward gender reveal. Maybe we should just play that live. We can't probably do that, can we, Jordan Klein? No, we probably can't, but everybody needs to go find that immediately. He just walks back in the house quietly. Nothing to see here around his daughters. Lovely, lovely family that he's got there. But yeah, that's something that I hope I never experience in my life. Here we go. Continuing on the rest of this slate. As if there wasn't enough value. As if there wasn't enough value here with Charlotte. As if there wasn't enough value here with Atlanta. We're looking at Houston here with Kevin Porter Jr. out, Jalen Green out, John Wall obviously still not back with that team. Armani Brooks, a massive discussion point here on this slate, 3,700. Only a 0.84 fantasy point per minute player, but we've got him for 30 plus minutes here at Awesemo on the day. I don't know how to get away from him as another piece of value that you just want to have a lot of alongside the John Collins, alongside some of these other popular plays. Everybody's a good play, it seems like, on this slate, but how do you factor in Armani Brooks on this slate?
Well, here's my question. I spin it back to you. Would you rather play Armani Brooks at 37 or Eric Gordon at 52?
Eric Gordon at 52.
Completely agree. Right. Yeah. So,
which is weird because I hate playing Eric Gordon and you should too, but we're going to do it.
Listen, me and Eric Gordon were freshmen at Indiana University at the same time. So I will always feel a spiritual connection to him.
Beautiful.
And we know he's a good basketball player when he gets the opportunity, right? Or sometimes he can be a good basketball player. The thing with Gordon is this year, he's taken a back seat to the young guys. He's taken a back seat to Jalen Green, to Kevin Porter Jr. That's not an issue right now. He's going to play 30 plus minutes. He's going to be a relatively high usage player. I would much rather plant my flag on Eric Gordon than Armani Brooks. I think both are in play for sure, but I would rather be more overweight on Gordon is my take.
Agreed. And I think a lot of what I'm going to do with Armani Brooks is going to come down to whether or not we have Trae Young, which sounds weird because they're completely different. Oh, we got the Kevin Huerter news. He's available to play. That's great. I'm waiting. Here we go. Trae Young remains questionable.
Damn you.
Damn you. Con. There we go. Yeah, let's go back to the guard position here. Armani Brooks, though. I'm saying I'm waiting on Trae Young here. It's just a guard spot that's going to be locked up. And then I'm going to have less of a guy in the event that I can't play him. There's that. That's my hashtag analysis. Eli Mitchell in the box. That's good news for me. I'm in a better mood already. Here we go. Rest
fantasy
of the
MVP, fantasy football MVP this season of
Jonathan Taylor by far.
You think Jonathan Taylor in the second round is more valuable than Eli Mitchell off waivers?
Well, I mean, that's what it comes down to is how do you value it? Do you value it as somebody that you could have actually picked up? Or for me, a majority of my leagues, I couldn't have done a whole heck of a lot unless you just spent your entire fab budget, which I wasn't willing to do that early in the season.
Fish.
Not the day, Matt LaMarca. Not the day. Here we go. All right. The rest of the guard position, we have Brandon Ingram. We can just, roster him up there. 30.3%. Part of that is we're looking for raw points. We're looking for anybody who can put up a lot of fantasy points. Bradley Beal, another guy who can put up a lot of fantasy points.
I'm out on Brandon Ingram?
Well, can I finish the question, or are you going to just want to go? Oh, yeah, no. Who do you prefer in that upper spot of guard in the event we have no Trae Young?
I much prefer Fred VanVleet or Bradley Beal. I know that neither of those guys have been as good as Brandon Ingram has recently, but just looking at a price tag perspective, Brandon Ingram was $7,900 in his last game. His price has jumped by $1,000, and everybody can't wait to play this guy. So I think that this is a great time to sell high on him. I mean, look at his previous game log. It's like all 40 points or less. So I think just because the guy scored, 57 in a game, he had a bit of an outlier performance. This is the perfect time to sell high on him. I would rather go with Fred VanVleet, who we know is going to play close to 40 minutes because that's what Fred VanVleet does. And if he can have a night where he makes some jump shots, we know that he can put up, a pretty big fantasy total. So I'd rather go with him at lower ownership than play a chalk Brandon Ingram.
Agreed. I probably want to go to both of those guys. You have, again, it comes down to what the projection is based on the ownership. And I do expect Brandon Ingram to be shot through the roof in the event that you have no Trae Young, nobody else. Look at this slate. I just want to explain this one more time for all the people in the back who can't hear me. Trae Young, 47.8 he's projected for over on DraftKings. The next guy on this 3-game slate is Jonas Valanciunas at 40.62. And we just have this bulk of guys that are projected at 37 to 40. I mean, we're talking about a pretty minimal difference here, obviously different positionality, but you look at it in that kind of a reference point, and it just becomes, well, Trae Young is by far, even on a bad game, possibly going to jump into an optimal in some spots. And I don't even need the boom bust tool to completely help me with it, although it's a fantastic tool to look at. 37.3% optimal percentage as opposed to 32% ownership. I'm just going to lock him in. I'm going to reiterate that. And that's going to be the focal point of the next 48 minutes for me, is figuring out that Trae Young news. But Brandon Ingram, Bradley Beal, Fred VanVleet, they're all projected within like 2 points of each other. And I'm just going to jam in the guys who are half as owned as Brandon Ingram. I'm probably with you there. Although I'd be surprised if I didn't get to quite a bit of Brandon Ingram alongside them. I'll just prioritize Beal and VanVleet more. The rest of the guard position, we have some other guys in this mid-range here. We could make a case for a lot of them. Obviously, Ish Smith is a fantastic play in the absence of all these guys. 4,800. They tried to give him a little bit of a bump. It's not enough. We're going to keep playing him there. Cam Reddish becomes an elite play, if you were to have, it says that he's questionable with illness. We have 0 next to his projections. So maybe he's out here he's still showing up here. He's out. All right, cool. Wanted to double check because Kevin Huerter is the guy that I just plugged into my projections. And now he's going to get shot through the moon if I don't have any Trae Young out there. Delon Wright is there at 24.2%. Let's just go through some of these pieces of value. Which one of these guys are you prioritizing the most on this slate?
It's probably Huerter now at this point. We know that people don't like to play guys who are questionable or who, if you built your lineups before 3 minutes ago, you had no idea if Kevin Huerter was playing. So I think he's going to be under-owned. Even if Trae Young is active, right? Cam Reddish is out. Bogdan is out. That's a lot of minutes on the wing. So I think Cam Reddish plays, well into the 30s tonight. Or I'm sorry, Kevin Huerter, excuse me. I think he plays well into the 30s, and he's okay on a per-minute basis. He's displayed the ability to have some big games in the past, notably the playoffs last year, going up against Seth Curry. So I don't hate Huerter at that price tag. I'll also have some of this Pelicans backcourt. I think that they're kind of could fly a little bit under the radar. Specifically, Devontae Graham at 4,800, I think, is a pretty nice price tag for him.
Agreed. That seems like a good spot to land. I'm looking at possibly leaving a little bit of salary on the table tonight in the event that we don't have Trae Young. In the event that we do, I'm just saying it's never something that I do in NBA. I rarely, if ever, leave more than $300, $400 on the table in NBA DFS. But tonight might be a little bit different. I think I'll still be jamming in a lot of the raw projected top projected plays here and kind of living with the result of that. But wouldn't be surprised if I had $600, $700 left on the table, and a few of them here and there going to kind of pick my spots there for sure. But the value pieces that it just seems like are jumping up the board for us, especially over on DraftKings right now, where we're kind of focusing most of it here. Amani Brooks, Delon Wright, Ish Smith. I really like Devontae Graham as somebody to get to at 4,800. It seems as though with Ish Smith at that exact number here, Devontae Graham's even a little bit more popular here. But I think it's probably rightfully so. Houston is absolutely abysmal. I know that they've been on this run post Jalen Green, but Kevin Porter Jr. being out here alongside whomever else, it doesn't really matter. Houston's not going to be a very competitive basketball team. And this New Orleans team can put up some points here in some spots. The guy that I'm probably looking at getting off of is Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened in the offseason to Nickeil Alexander-Walker, but the man is broken beyond broken beyond broken. If he were a tricycle, he would need to go into the shop because we need to fix it. What are we doing with Nickeil Alexander-Walker?
Only if he was a tricycle, though? So does that imply that 2 of the 3 wheels are good?
Yeah, it's what he's... Go ahead, just talk. I'm broken. I'm sad. It's whatever. Trae Young available to play. We're going to jam him in now.
Let's go. Yeah, the thing with Walker is the minutes are just not there, right? And he's playing with 2 relatively high usage players in Jonas Valanciunas and Brandon Ingram. So I think you can get away from him. I don't think that he's like a hard fade in my book. He's somebody that I have some exposure to, but I'm more excited to play Devontae Graham at 48, Herter at 52, Eric Gordon at 52, even Spencer Dinwiddie at 55. I have some of him. Like, I think that the range slightly above him. And then if you want to go down to Armani Brooks at 37, like that's where I'm allocating most of my attention.
All right. So everything I said about leaving salary on the table, that's the dumbest thing I've ever said, because now Trae Young exists. Yay. Trae Young. We already covered that. I think you should know by now. We really like Trae Young. 1.38 fantasy points by
now.
That was good. Keep going. I'm banging. Keep going.
Is that what you get for your money?
Yeah, I'm ready for it. Can't stop the beat. Here we go. Trae Young. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Fire it up. Here we go. And News God, thank you so much for confirming all of the Trae Young status there. Very helpful. Let's go. He's going to be the guy I cheer for the absolute most on this slate. There's no doubt about it here. Anybody else that you want to talk about here at guard? We've got 43 minutes here left. We've got plenty of time to talk about anything in depth that you fancy, anything that you might want to look at. Lou Williams was somebody that I had circled in the event you had Trae Young out. Well, we're not going to have to discuss him at all. I don't want to play him. Is there anybody lower down the board? Garrison Matthews, I'm not getting to at all. I don't understand why he's 12.1% owned. Delon Wright, I still think is a little bit, he's just fine. Played 29 minutes there against Philadelphia. I'm okay with him back in the rotation there now, getting to a little bit of him, but Kevin Herter in there, definitely going to downgrade him a little bit compared to what I had before. But Trae Young in, talk to me about the rest of guard.
Yeah, I agree on Delone. I think he's still in play regardless of Trae being in the lineup. I agree on Garrison Matthews. I mean, the reason he's catching ownership is because he's been pretty good recently, but I do think he's kind of hit the ceiling price-wise for him. You know, we're talking about a guy who's like a 25, 28 point cap. So I don't want to pay nearly 5K for him. The guys who could fly a little bit under the radar, I think, are this middle tier of guards. I mean, Kelly Oubre is going to catch ownership. He's a guard/forward, but he certainly becomes appealing given their injury situation. And Gary Trent is somebody who I think is pretty interesting at only 5,900. He returned to the lineup in their last game. He played nearly 35 minutes. He scored 29 DraftKings points. He shot 3 for 16 from the field. There are going to be plenty of opportunities for Trent to score the ball with OG Anunoby sidelined. I think Gary Trent's a pretty interesting buy low option, in my opinion.
I think he is too. Gary Trent, just fine by me. I'm happy to be going his direction a little bit here. 5,900. Okay, I say that knowing I'm getting to a little bit underneath the field, but you're going to get to a lot of dudes if you're playing more than 10, 20 lineups here today. It's going to be a smattering of those guys in that mid-range because you're trying to identify some upside. And I think Gary Trent certainly has some upside. 3 for 16. He has a good shooting game here, gets to 40. That could easily end up optimal here, especially now that we have a ceiling to actually pay up for. Rest of the guard position to kind of round it all out. We've talked about all the value here. I like that Gary Trent call in that mid-range, but then Eric Gordon, 5,200. We talked about him just for a hot second there, but I mean, we're projecting Eric Gordon for over 32 minutes in previous iterations of Eric Gordon alongside Chris Paul, alongside James Harden, kind of a shooter, not so much a facilitator. The assists have actually spiked a little bit. 2 of his last 4, he's had 6 and 7 assists. That's kind of nice to see as a little bit of a buffer to the box score. And now Kevin Porter Jr. out there on the floor. How much Eric Gordon are you getting to on this slate?
Lots. He's my highest owned guard at the moment.
Oh, baby.
Outside, well, I'll change that now that we know Trae Young is in.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have more Trae Young than Eric Gordon. But again, I think if we look at ceiling relative to projected if and this is he's popping in our leverage tool, like he's somebody that I'm willing to take a stand on today.
Love it. If a man stands for something, he must. No, we're not even going to go there.
A man stands for nothing.
He doesn't stand for anything. Something like that.
That's basically saying the same thing twice, but I do think that's the quote.
I'm a man of redundancies. You know what else is very redundant? Me talking about Awesemo, because I do it all the time. Here we go. Awesemo plus tools and content for every NBA sport, for every NBA contest, I suppose. Every DFS sport that we have here, $29.95 for that weekly pass. Right now, use NBA Live for the promo code. That's all caps, one word, NBA Live for 25% off your first week of Awesemo Plus Platinum. Utilize that now and get every sport we have behind the paywall for that week at a depreciated price there. NFL, which is just so glorious, and the Vikings. I mean, how could you not love that? They're going to be Thursday night showdown against Pittsburgh. So excited with a new head football coach to kind of take that into account. Should be fun. But if you want to enjoy those, $16.95 for the weekly package, just NBA, $4.95 for a weekly express package, which is showdown and single game contest that you can utilize for NBA. But I'm just saying, like, if you're going to play like the $20, if you're going to play any of the major GPPs that exist here around the industry for NFL, I strongly recommend, especially for the showdown content, utilizing this promo now for NBA Live, 25% off your first week of Awesemo Plus Platinum. Stop guessing, start winning, and join us. It's fun. The water's warm. All right, let's jump over to forward here on the top end. Miles Bridges jumping way up to the top here in the absence of everybody else. He's been revelatory. And I do mean revelatory. He's producing better than his .017 fantasy points per minute over the course of the last calendar year here. He is at the early stages before DeJounte Murray and John Morant were just dueling back and forth for that most improved player. Miles Bridges was somebody that I was considering betting in some of the markets because it seemed as though he was getting slept on still with his market improvement. Well, he's going to have as much usage as he can possibly handle here in this spot. What are you doing with Miles Bridges on the slate?
I'm playing him for sure. I do have some concerns about the price tag. He's up to 8,400. This is a guy who was struggling to pay off a salary in the high sevens recently. The fact that no LaMelo, no Terry Rozier obviously helps him, but it hasn't been a huge boost to his fantasy stock so far this year. 1.14 DraftKings points per minute with both guys off the floor. So if you think he plays upper 30s minutes, he can definitely get there on his current price tag, but I'm not quite as bullish as the field is on him.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, I'm pretty bullish on him simply because he's projected for a lot of points here, and John Collins was somebody that I was anticipating getting to a lot no matter what. I'm still going to get to him quite a bit here in this early game. There's really no late swap advantage to be had here, which is generally what I'm building towards, building off of probable late news. Don't think we're going to be getting much that we have to worry about here. So I am just firing up the Miles Bridges, John Collins, Gordon Hayward, all of those guys at the top end of the ownership there. But then PJ Washington, 5,700. This is where it starts to get interesting for me because I know he's been playing well relative to his price tag. It continues to climb up there to 5,700. And I got to find one or two plays on this top end to be a little bit lighter than. And PJ Washington just kind of isn't making the cut. Kelly Oubre projected for a little bit more minutes. I think he's going to be out there, willing participant in the shooting department as well. I'd rather go to him and Bridges, going to Gordon Hayward a little bit more even than PJ Washington. What do you think about him on this slate?
I'm kind of in the opposite camp of you. I like PJ Washington quite a bit, but I just think he doesn't have as much bust potential at his current salary as a guy like Bridges does.
Okay.
Right. If Bridges gives you 30, you're hurting at 8,400. I think the worst case scenario kind of for PJ Washington is 25-ish, right? And that's still pretty good at a $5,700 price tag. So I find myself leaning on Hayward, on PJ Washington, and on Tsunami Papi Kelly Oubre. Like that, those are the guys that I have the most of for Charlotte.
Let me refresh the boom bust tool, because earlier in the day, Josh Hart was like breaking the damn thing. He was completely, he still is. So here you go. You want to talk about a play? My play of the day, 5,400 Josh Hart. I feel like I've talked about him every single slate he's been on. He's one of the more underrated rebounding players in the NBA. A guy guard in with the Lakers, now here with the Pellies. Somebody who can just kind of get it done on the glass. And when he was out, that was kind of one of the main reasons that I was higher on J-Val. And J-Val then went 7 for 8 from 3 and completely put up a 70 spot. And, it was completely opposite of the reasons that I liked him. But Josh Hart being out there, 17.1% ownership, 31.3% optimal percentage. You rarely get double-digit leverage on any player, especially a 3-game slate. I'm going to be playing a crazy, outrageous amount of this human being. How about you?
Yeah, I would just have to imagine that stems from the fact that he's questionable, because if we knew that Josh Hart was going to be in, he would be significantly higher owned, I think. And again, you don't have to preach Josh Hart to me. We put the kiss of death on Josh Hart the last time that he played on a Sunday. So I love Josh Hart. He is, someone who can go well over a fantasy point per minute. You mentioned the rebounding potential. He had a game the other night where he had over 30 DraftKings points with 5 points scored. I love players like that because they can get there in so many ways.
And here's the thing, everybody. Eric Gordon is $200 less. So I said there's not really a whole lot of late swappability. Well, this is your one spot if you want to try to take advantage of some news. Josh Hart gets ruled in. He'll be under owned relative to his optimal percentage. That's good times. I'm looking at him moving to Eric Gordon. I can probably even go down to Devontae Graham and leave some salary there. If you just group it by salary in that late game, and of course, we still have 34 minutes where we might get that news, but in the event that we don't, Eric Gordon, easy pivot, I think, to be able to get to. And then if you wanted to leave the 600 on the table there on DK, Devontae Graham makes some sense as well. So I don't think it should be that difficult to be able to give it up and make your way to other plays if he ends up getting ruled out. And for sure, you can also play NWA, and then you can cry with me, or NAW. Excuse me. There we go. Oh, he's the worst. This guy is just killing me this season. Here we go. Rest of the position, Kyle Kuzma, somebody who has shown that he can definitely spike a little bit of a stealing here since he joined the Wizards, but not so much here of late. Not somebody that I'm probably going to get to a ton of. 16.2% seems about appropriate for him, but right around a fantasy point per minute player here on the season. So I think there's maybe a case to be made for him. Jayshawn Tate, who put up that massive 70 spot and then put up 36.25, nothing to scoff at 6K. He's now up to 6,600. Number of plays we can go to in this 5 and 6K range. Who are you landing on the most?
Well, I kind of want to throw some love to Scotty Barnes, who we didn't really touch on yet, but I think he might be the overlooked player in this price range. Right now, we haven't projected for 15.3% ownership. His optimal rate is checking in below that. So he does have a negative leverage score, but I'm not all that worried about a negative leverage score when we're talking about a guy that's 15% owned. So Barnes is playing all the minutes he can handle with Anunoby out of the lineup. He's had at least 37 in 4 straight games, 5 of his last 6. He's a good player, right? He's right around a fantasy point per minute. I don't know why he is projected for so much less ownership than a guy like Brandon Ingram. To me, at 8,800 has, I'm not going to say the same ceiling. Ingram's ceiling is certainly a little bit higher, but I would say that the median outcome for both players is probably pretty similar.
That's fair. I'm not saying that it's not something that makes some sense to get to. I mean, there are so many limited guys that can spike that 40 plus ceiling here on this slate. And I guess for me, it's less of a need to get to him as what it might've been if you had Trae Young out. Trae Young, it affects everything for me. And it makes it so that I have less salary to get up to for a guy like Scotty Barnes. I think he's a luxury on this slate. I think getting to Scotty Barnes is, he's like the pretty thing that you probably don't need that's in the store window. And you can go get it, but is it going to have that much more utility than something that's cheaper? And so, man, that was actually a analogy that worked. That was shocking. I'm not even mad. I'm impressed. So Scotty Barnes, 8K. I think he's just fine. I look at him as the luxury item. So if you want to play him, I really don't have anything to push back on. He's going to play 36 minutes in this spot up against Washington. No problem. But I'm probably going to be going a little bit cheaper because I have to. And then, PJ Washington, the guy that I think a lot of people are going to land on, maybe I'll get a little bit more just for Matt LaMarca here because I'm not against those things or opposed. Danilo Gallinari. This guy is starting to come alive a little bit here for this basketball team. Oh, Love? You just love right out of the gate?
Love.
Oh, go, then just go.
We've talked about Atlanta, right? They have plenty of minutes available. Gallo is getting to around 30 minutes per game at the moment, 28 and 29 in his last two. And Gallo historically is a fantasy point per minute type of player. I think 30 should be very doable for him with, 28, 29 minutes. And he's got the ceiling for more. I mean, he just did it in his last game. He went for 33 and a half in 28 minutes. He was only 5 for 12 shooting the ball too. So it's not like he rode a really unsustainably hot shooting night. I just think he's pretty significantly underpriced given the Hawks' current injury situation.
Okay. He's just somebody that wasn't necessarily projecting out super well on our end, but somebody that I still wanted to kind of circle and have a little bit more of. I think I understand that there's going to be a little bit of shooting dependentness to his game inherently. But yeah, as you said, the rebounding rate has really, really gone up here the last 2 games. Compared to where it was just non-existent there when he first got back. So I'm looking at Danilo Gallinari as somebody to get to maybe a little bit more even and understanding that, hey, I want to be leaning on the tools as much as possible. But where is he on the boom bust tool here right now? That's going to be something.
20% ownership, 18.5% optimal.
See, that's flat. And for me, if you have a play like this that you feel confident about and it's going to be relatively flat, I'm happy to get there. He doesn't have some crazy boom percentage, but I don't know if he's going to get up to 20%. I just get that weird feeling that everybody's going to be rostering Charlotte forwards. Like it's just going to be so obvious with no LaMelo Ball, with no Terry Rozier out to play all of these guys who are actually active and playing them in bulk. So I'm trying to find ways to get a little bit more different. So I think Danilo Gallinari is a solid way to get different. Somebody said Richards. Yeah. Oh, the Charlotte lineup. Did Richards end up in the starting lineup? There you go. Smith, Oubre, Hayward, Bridges, Richards. We will get to the center spot. Promise. We will be able to kind of touch on that. We have all the time in all the world to have to cover all of these things. But to round out forward here, we can place Şengün there sitting at 4,200. Somebody who doesn't have a great, a super high boom potential there in the boom bust tool, but 4,200, different roster construction. Don't completely hate it because 19 minutes, the guy put up 26.25. There are ways that he can get involved. And I think going forward, he's going to be a very good fantasy basketball player. 1.17 fantasy points per minute so far on the season there on DraftKings. That is that's a really nice rate to get out of a guy, even at 4,200, where he's going to be playing right around that 17 to 20 minute mark. If he plays well, maybe he gets a little bit of boost to it. And we just got Josh Hart ruled out news. So that's great simultaneously. That's a ba-bum. Did you catch that one? I bet you did.
Little Price is Right.
You know what?
If you didn't watch The Price is Right when you stayed home sick, I can't relate to you.
Or it was snow days. I mean, it was like South Dakota snow days. We had a lot of those, and it just became playing the Bob Barker putting game in my living room simultaneously alongside those idiots that were trying to make a 1-foot putt for a car and couldn't do it. Oops. Oh, you did it again. You missed. So just quit. There we go. I say that knowing fully well that putting is the worst part of my golf game. Let's keep it going. Josh Hart is ruled out. Initial reaction to that, other than pain and sadness.
It's definitely pain and sadness, but I think probably you give the boost to Naw, right? I mean, is this now a Naw night? No, is it the time to buy low on Alexander Walker?
I called them NWA Temple first, so I mean, we can at least call them NAW, and that's a good start. So I can, reclaim my power saying that correctly. There we go. Continue.
I suppose Garrett Temple also becomes slightly interesting, right? He's 3,400. He doesn't need a ton of playing time to pay off his salary, right? He had right around 24 minutes in his last game and he got to 27.25. I think that's on the high end of what you can expect for Garrett Temple, but the minutes should be there. And then if you really want to get weird, I guess you go to like the Satoranskis of the world, but I don't think we necessarily need to do that.
So the boss man associates me with Garrett Temple mainly because when he was getting, I kind of called that he was going to get that spot start against Sacramento. He ended up putting up 30.25 in 34 minutes of work at the min. Made some people some money, including myself. That was fun. Wish I'd banked something. I don't even remember what happened. Too many slates, too many days. But I do know the boss man associates me with Garrett Temple. So I'm assuming that he's going to start here again. And in some of these starts that you're looking at, obviously that Dallas game, they just blew them out too. He only played 24 minutes, played very, very well. But in his other starts, 34, 26, 35, 29, 36. We're talking about a lot of minutes that could exist here for him. Obviously, there were one or two of those games. I know that that we had Herbert Jones and Brandon Ingram that were sitting there questionable, waiting in the wings. We have both of them back. So I'm going to be limiting his minutes maybe a little bit more than like the 30 that you could be looking at. Need confirmation that he's in the starting lineup, but he's a guy that's going to be a late addition to my pool. Didn't remotely think about playing him here on this slate. But I'm not even going to probably get to that much of him. Definitely a good talking point, though. Devontae Graham, shore that up. I think that becomes easier. I don't want to play NAW. I'm going to play NAW. I don't see any way around it. I just want to break things today. It's the worst day ever.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't gotten to center yet either, but maybe a little Willie HG.
Well, we got to talk about it compared to Richards now, too, especially with Richards there in the starting lineup. I'm just kind of updating all of my Hornet stuff. I'm getting off of this other site that we don't even need to worry about because I want to talk about the sites that I am playing on. That's DraftKings. That is Yahoo today. Yahoo is the presenting sponsor here of the Live Before Lock show. And I'm telling you right now, there is no better site, period. No better site, period, for you to sign up and play right now. Not just because they have the best contests across the industry, low management fees, great prize pools, super player friendly. The NFL, they have the overlay contest, the Sunday $1 million prize pool, 200K of overlay. That's a negative 25% management fee or rake, as other people might call that. And now, not just because of all those reasons, but because if you are a new user and you sign up with promo code Awesemo, deposit $10 or more and play in any paid contest, you will get 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum completely free. As good as our previous offer using NBA Live was, this one is even better because you're getting a full month free, no questions asked. That's every sport we offer behind the paywall: NBA, NFL, MMA, PGA, all of the goods completely free to you. Check it out for a month. I know you'll like what you see there for sure, but not only that, you'll be able to play Yahoo, have amazing tools and content for that. It doesn't get any better than this deal, so utilize it now. Promo code Awesemo, $10 or more, and you will get set up. So check it out. Ish starting. I think we were expecting Ish starting. We didn't. We all expect Ish to be starting.
I did, yes.
Yeah, I did too. Smith, Oubre, Hayward, Bridges, Richards. We'll talk about that one here in a second. Hawks, Young, Luwawu Cabarro, Herter, Collins, Capella. Exactly what we expected there.
Yeah, and I don't think we need TLC tonight. I know people have played him recently. Just not enough upside for me. Not a good enough guy on a per minute basis that he really needs to hit like 30 plus minutes to hit his ceiling. And I don't think that can happen.
He was really fun to roster in the bubble, and Brooklyn didn't play anybody in the bubble.
Yeah.
They just basically punted the bubble, which is such a weird thing to say. It's like you slide it as an 8 seed and it's like, you know what? Karis LeVert, yeah, you go out and play 45 minutes and best of luck to you. Yeah, pretty nuts. But Luwawu Cabarro is another dude who lit it up there. He has 3,100. I'm not going to say you shouldn't have a share or two, but I mean, we're talking about a guy who started the last two, 25 minutes, 18 minutes, 11% and 7.8% usage. If he's not going to get up there in volume, I can tell you right now, there isn't anything else in the box where he's going to contribute alongside Trae Young. He's not a rebounder, not going to be creating assists for anybody else. It is completely shooting dependent. Have a share or two, enjoy yourself, but tread lightly, as Walter White would say. Just tread lightly. Let's keep it going here. Let's go to center. We're going to have plenty of time to be able to talk through questions, talk through anything else. Hernan Willie. Yes. We all love that. But I'm going to start here because we just got this starting lineup. What are you doing with Richards here in this spot? Who I'm going through. He got a spot start against Chicago, played 7 minutes. So I'm pretty much not going to be rostering Nick Richards still at 7 or at the absolute min here at 3K. I just don't see a need for it. Do you?
I'm not gonna. I feel similarly to how you feel with TLC, right? I may have a sprinkle here and there just because he is the minimum. He has averaged 0.86 DraftKings points per minute this season. So on the off chance that he does see like 15 plus minutes, there's a scenario where he finds himself in a like stars and scrubs type build. So I'll have a sprinkling, but definitely not somebody that I want to be overexposed to.
Yeah, I'm just throwing it out there to start because people were reacting to the starting lineup. They were talking about Ish Smith being there. We expected Ish Smith to be there. He was a fantastic play. It's of course good to see confirmation that he's there, because if you saw the opposite, I would probably be freaking out and hustling around a little bit. But as it stands, we're in a good place. We can all relax, which is what I'm here to do. I'm here to help you relax. I'm so therapeutic like that.
You are. You're a great listener. I've always said that about you.
That was kind of mean. I saw what you did there. Or I am a great listener.
I wasn't being sarcastic.
Oh, okay.
I'm not. That's like
lovely.
That.
I don't know. Jordan
Klein, straight shooter.
Jordan Klein didn't even give me a look. Normally he's like, you get that pop up.
Jordan doesn't even know where he is right now.
Yeah, where is Jordan Klein? Jordan Klein's been up since 4 a.m. though. So he's been burning not even the midnight oil. He's been burning the 4 a.m. oil, whatever time that is out here on the West Coast. Jordan Klein, the finest producer in the game, named Jordan Klein. Continue on, Matt LaMarca.
I think if you look at Richards at 3K, you've got Sangoon at 4,200. You've got Achua at 45 and Hernan Gomez at 45. Like, to me, Richards slots in as a comfortable fourth on that list of value centers.
All righty. Everybody, right now, Yahoo, there are 320 entries still in the Sunday Baller at 794 out of 1,123K to first. Let's fill that thing up. Also hit that like button for us because we are digging in to this 3-gamer. We are taking time out of our NFL Sunday to help you make money. And of course, because the NBA is our baby. So there's that. And I hate the Minnesota Vikings. Let's keep it going. John Collins up there at the top end, 36.1%. PJ Washington there, 33.5%. I do think that I'm going to get to a number of those guys, but my highest rostered center, and it's not even remotely close, is Precious Achua there at 4,500. I'm landing on this guy a lot. It was nice to see 34 minutes in a competitive game there up against Milwaukee. He had gotten in foul trouble against Memphis the previous game, fouled out of that one, 6 fouls, played 29 minutes. I think that limited his minutes a little bit, and it limited people's interest in him the next game. I always love when that just kind of doesn't get baked into a lot of other people's projections. Of course, it gets baked into our projections here at Awesemo because they're the absolute best. Alex Baker, Steve Buzzard, Sean Zahn, everybody behind the scenes, Eddie Lai. We have the best team in the data game, no questions asked. So Precious Achua, he's popping up a lot in my builds here. We have him projected for 31.5. I think there's upside for more. How are you looking at him on this slate?
Agreed. He's my top owned center as well. I don't want to say that I have, like gobs of him because I have plenty of Christian Wood. And I do think Jonas Valanciunas probably gets a bump with no Josh Hart. I think he's slightly intriguing. So this is a position that I have some spend ups. But the main thing for me at this position is I'm kind of avoiding 40% or 35% owned John Collins. And I want to go out on a limb and say that this is a Matt LaMarca take, right? Our models have him, or our boom bust tool has him still grading out as a positively leveraged play at 36% ownership. I just don't understand why he is catching so much ownership. He hasn't been good recently. He hasn't gone for over 40 plus in 7 straight games. I don't see the ceiling. I really don't. I want, if I'm paying 7K for a player, I want there to be 40 plus in his range of outcomes. And I think that it's smaller than it should be for Collins at that price tag.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did we not stay on conversation enough for somebody? Oh, that's too bad. Adrian Peterson scored a touchdown. So everybody who had their Pete Carroll is going to obsess and give this guy 15 carries and let him score. Take in, go cash your tickets at the window. You done it. Congratulations. There was no doubt about it. 17-14 in that game here. 7-3 Washington and Vegas. It's about to start the third quarter there. 16-7 Raiders here and 7-3 Baltimore Pittsburgh at halftime. Thank God I didn't play Lamar Jackson in cash. Whew, I'm very happy. There was actually, barn burner. No kidding. AFC North teams getting together. Not exactly my favorite fantasy football environment for sure. So hopefully we can make some money here going there. But back to NBA. Oh, look at that. I got off topic and came back. Look at what I can do. I can dance too. Clint Capella is sitting there at 29.9%. Jonas Valanciunas, though, 22.9%, getting way more J-Val as opposed to Clint Capella here in this spot. Although I recognize Clint Capella has a massive ceiling. It's just that relative to his ownership, I would rather go to the lower owned J-Val. I can get to 9K pretty easily still. I can play him alongside Precious Achiuwa on a 2-center slate like DraftKings and Yahoo. What are you doing with those 2 centers specifically?
I agree. I have more Valanciunas than Capella, but I expect that I will be overweight on both players. We have Capella showing up as pretty negatively leveraged on this slate, but again, on a 3-game slate, I'm less worried about that kind of stuff. I think that Capella, the main concern that you have with him, or that we've had with him at times this season, is the lack of playing time. Right. He was down below 30 minutes for most of the early season, but he's now hit at over 30 in 3 straight games. He had a bad game against Joel Embiid. So what? That happens to basically every center that plays Joel Embiid. So I feel like this is a great bounce back spot for him. Is he going to struggle against Nick Richards? I sure hope not.
In Nick Richards' 10 minutes of basketball play today? Yes, that would be brutal. Again, I will say it is a different situation because obviously there are a lot of missing pieces here, and this is the first time that we're going to see those missing pieces. And so maybe there is more of a ceiling here for Richards than what I'm kind of alluding to. For me, it just comes down to, I don't need those savings at the position, and I would rather go other places with my money. And Precious Achiuwa at 4,500 is just such a markedly more secure, better play to me. And Richards, even though he's going to be like 1%, 2%. Yeah, get to your 1 or 2 shares.
People are going to play him.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. 16.75 minutes is what we have him projected for. I have him projected for 14 at the moment. I think that that's about appropriate. I actually inflated it at about 4 minutes as I was talking through that a little bit earlier. So I don't really see myself needing to go too nuts there. But the rest of the center position here, Montrezl Harrell there, Gafford, the eternal, which one is it question that I never get correct. So I don't really know what to say. Christian Wood. We talk about ceilings, 9,600 for him on the top end. A lot of these centers that are going right around, 12 to 15.7%. Pascal Siakam, another guy. Is there anybody else that you're getting into a lot more than the field?
I think that Siakam I'm like pretty in line with, but I will be overweight on Wood for sure. I think a lot of people are going to look at that $9,600 price tag and they're going to balk at it. And I don't blame them. Again, like, you would never consider a $9,600 Christian Wood if this was a 9-game slate, but it's not. It's a 3-game slate. So I don't care that we give him a 66% bust chance and a 6.5% boom score in the boom bust tool. Like, there's a chance that Christian Wood is going to be the highest scoring center on this slate. He's gone for 50 plus in 3 of his past 4, 60 plus in 2 of them. And if he does that, he's going to be in the winning lineup at the end of the night. And I think that that's not that bold of a take.
Not that bold at all. All right, I got my first run of lineups in, so I'm feeling pretty good over here. I suggest everybody do the same. 12 minutes. We've got every piece of news that we could possibly ask for on this slate. I think I'm just going to get this first run in. Then I'm going to continue to update some of these Pelicans minutes, kind of figure out exactly what I want to do compared to what we're going to be projecting him for. And we will be all set to go, maybe even a couple minutes for questions, because this is a 3-gamer. I want to be helpful. You guys are taking time out of your day. We've got 1,000 of you in here hanging out. We've got News God there watching over the chat. That's always nice to see. Good to see you, my guy. Appreciate you. And of course, let's see. Yeah, there's that too. We've got a number of Garrett Temple people that are hitting me up here in my personal Slack here that They want to know about Garrett Temple, my Garrett Temple take. I don't really have one. I want to get that starting lineup, but I'm telling you right now, I've got him in right around 25% of my lineups here, and that might have some room to go up a little bit here. Just kind of depends. He's kind of the one piece I feel like just could see a lot more minutes and isn't going to get any attention, especially because people aren't going to be talking about him. And am I saying Garrett Temple's going to go nuts? No, I'm not saying Garrett Temple's going to go nuts, but it's so hard to find like an underutilized play on a slate like this, on a 3-gamer where we have all the news and most people who are playing NBA are probably paying attention, I would assume. Otherwise, you're just kind of burning money, and that would be great. But I got to be thinking Garrett Temple, I want to get to a little bit more than I was expecting just because of that. Do you feel the same way about anybody?
I mean, I do think that Temple is a perfect descriptor for that, right? Because just because he's not in the starting lineup, it becomes kind of we don't know about.
We don't know if he is or not. I'm saying that it's not like announced yet. It's if it were like, oh, Garrett Temple's out there, people would see his name the same way they saw Richards or the same way they saw Ish Smith, and they would fire away on it.
I mean, Eric Gordon has been my guy all day. I'm not really wavering off of that. I think, again, if you want to look at Charlotte, I'm not anticipating like Nick Richards to be in their closing lineup. You know, PJ Washington hasn't really been starting for them recently anyway. He's still playing boatloads of minutes. So I would expect him to close at center, and then some combination of Oubre, Hayward, Miles Bridges, and Ish Smith probably would be like their closing lineup. So again, I think Nick Richards is kind of a trap. I'm not falling for it, even at the minimum. I would rather have more exposure to the Hawks, the Hornets forwards that we kind of have touched on.
Yep, absolutely. We got Larry C. My dude, this is how much I like you guys. Just finished work, not playing tonight, but came in, hit the like button. And since I saw the email notification, love that. What
a wonderful guy.
What a wonderful human being. Everybody else hit the like button too, so we can continue to give you all this great content. Let you guys know about everything. People said Cody Martin, ? How much Cody Martin are you getting to on this slate? We haven't talked about him, and I saw he was popping in some projections, but he's gone down. He was around 24% in our last run. He's down to 15.6% on DraftKings. I just don't find him that necessary at 4,900.
Yeah, he'll have a role, but you always have to be a little bit wary of guys in their first game back. He's missed their past 2. So he might be limited to, like lower 20s minutes as opposed to upper 20s. Again, I think they have plenty of firepower on the wing. It's really more point guard that they're struggling tonight. So I would lean Ish Smith over Cody Martin, even considering the difference in projected ownership.
Then I scrolled down and saw Larry C said, didn't Lofty call the Lions winning right underneath what he said earlier? And now I'm upset with you, Larry C. See how this works? You could have just left it at that, and that would have been great. But no, I'm just kidding. You're appreciated. I
don't mind you, Larry C.
We're going to get Zimmer fired. That's exciting. So it's better for the long term of my franchise. That's for sure. John Good, super chat, $2 coming in there. Last man in, Eric Gordon, Harrell, or Gafford. I know your answer.
Yeah, it's clearly Eric Gordon for me. The Harrell Gafford.
I flip a coin.
Yeah, it's just impossible to predict. They're playing roughly the same minutes. I do think Harrell's a better per minute producer, but it's just one of those things where you're going to be right some nights and you're going to be wrong some nights.
Cooper Kupp, 29-yard touchdown. He's up to 5 catches, 94 and a touchdown.
Who?
That was huge. Cooper Kupp, of course.
Oh, Coop. You were really sweating Cooper Kupp. You're the worst. Sometimes.
No, but I was sweating them going up by a zillion.
The guy's
there.
like a 12
my 2 highest owned players,
guy.
Cooper Kupp and Sony Michel. You know what?
No, and you're throwing a temper tantrum.
No. You don't get to pull that on me. You don't get to do that.
I just did it.
You can't do it. Matt LaMarca, stay in line. The other Matts, I have too many damn Matts here is the problem. We had Brian Nelson there earlier. He's just like, oh, we need to have all the Matts on here so Eric could say, Mr. LaMarca, Mr. I've gotten used to, I can't say the name word Matt. And not only that, my 2 best friends growing up, both Matts. So it's just a complete disaster. Matt Pretty, Matt Ford, and then I've got Matt LaMarca, Matt Savoca, Matt Kajeski. Just stop it. All of you stop it. But I'm sorry, I'm back. Cooper Kupp, touchdown. All right, we're going back to basketball here. Let's go. Anything else that you want to talk about to round out center?
No, I mean, I think we've kind of touched on every person.
We have, because that's what we can do on this slate. Again,
Yeah,
Harold,
right.
I mean, as you're going through it, I mean, it's 22 minutes. His minutes have definitely trended down here. Daniel Gafford's have trended up. If I'm going to play one guy on this slate between the two of them, I'm going to go to just a little bit more security here, considering they're the same percentage. I mean, 12.9 and 12% for Gafford and Harold, respectively. I'll just go to the guy that I feel better juju with, and that Dan, who I think has a higher starting upside. And what was that? Was that on my end? Weird. Okay, that's the center position.
Spooky.
Talked about everybody. You did talk about Guillermo Hernangomez, somebody who can be very active in the basketball world when he's on a floor. 1.45 fantasy points per minute over the last calendar year. It's a large number, sub 5%. Nobody's going to roster him. Are you going to roster him?
Yeah, I'll have some. 4,500, I think, is a little bit on the high side of what I want to pay for him. But if he does, last game he got to 23 minutes and he finished with 37 and a half. So I'm willing to bake some of that upside into my lineups. I'll take, some significant downside there too, but we're playing for first. You know what I'm saying? We're not trying to finish we're not trying to min cash. We want those first places so we can end up in the Hall of Fame.
I never know what to do with my hands. If you ain't first, you're last. Damn it, Ricky, I was high when I said that. You could be lots of things. You could be second or third.
Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
You're going to break us like a couple of wild horses, ain't you, Grandma? You bet, boys. It's Grandma's rules. 5 minutes. I'd get your lineups in, everybody. Let's take a look at some questions here. People fading Gordon. Don't fade Gordon. Oh, Jimmy Garoppolo touchdown. I might be close to winning some stuff. That would be very fun to log off of this and see. But here we go. We've got dropped 40 in like 18 minutes. Okay. Yeah, he did do that. Hernangomez, that's kind of his MO, is just putting up a crazy amount of fantasy points. Yeah, I did say the Bears today too. That didn't go well. Guess what? Sometimes I'm going to say things that don't go well, but in the long run, I think you've got.
I'm sorry. I've been mean to you on this show.
Yeah. You think? Here we go. A couple 2v2s. If you're going to give me 2v2s, you gotta put a site. I will answer your 2v2s, but you gotta put a site. Otherwise, it just makes it impossible for us to kind of sit here. We've got Hayward, Capella. Yeah, see, I need a site. Hayward, Capella, Eric Gordon, Wood. I mean, I like Eric Gordon Wood, I think, just flat out more than the other one on every site. So we can probably do that one. Cool. Jimmy Kittle. I didn't say Jimmy Kittle, but yes, Jimmy 2 Kittle was my sneaky stack. Yes, I like that very much. Way to go, K Cork 17. You're in here all the time. Congratulations. Yeah, Kittle 2 Kittles and bits or something. I don't know. We have nothing else to talk about on this NBA slate. Yeah, Jordan Klein. I know. I'm doing the best that I can. We've got 3 minutes here. Anything you're noticing with your lineups that you want to touch on here before we get ourselves out of here?
I think, again, we've kind of hit on the fact that there's plenty of lower priced options that you can make cases for. And that means you should be getting overweight on Trae Young. I think that's sort of the biggest piece of advice that I would impart. Get overweight on Trae Young. As Eric has said many times, he's just projected for so many more raw fantasy points than the rest of the slate. Other than that, I do think that there's room for a second type stud, and I will be underweight on the chalky-ish guys, the Brandon Ingrams and the John Collinses of the world. And I'm going to be overweight on that Fred VanVleet, Christian Wood, Jonas Valanciunas tier.
I love that call. Trae Young, lock button for me. Looking at Precious Achiuwa, my second highest roster guy, simply because of the center position, 4,500. Gives me some nice savings there. And plus, I don't really see a crazy need there. But I do like Jonas Valanciunas. Yeah, I'm double the field there on him. Lower on Capella, lower on some of those other guys. But pay up for some ceilings here. Christian Wood as well. He's only 12.7% in our last run. I'm getting just around that here as well. Miles Bridges, a big part of this slate. I think getting to a little bit more of him. You're higher on PJ Washington than me. I get the play, but I don't need to go to 5,700 there. You can play him at center, and that makes it a little bit easier. But Scotty Barnes, a guy that you've kind of talked me into having a little bit more of as well. Think that there could be some untapped value there. Finding some spots to get a little bit different. A big part of this slate, because I think the chalk is really, really good. Oh, and Devontae Graham vaulted up to the top, 39.9%. I have 55% of him, so I'm a little bit over on that over on DraftKings as well. That is just simply because Josh Hart's out. That makes it much more secure minutes, and the guy is generally a willing participant in the shooting department. But that's going to do it here for the NBA Live Before Lock show. Thank you so much to News God. Thank you so much to producer Jordan Klein behind the virtual glass. Appreciate you so much as we're kind of rounding out everything with our lineups. That's going to cover this slate. But Matt LaMarca, any final words for the people?
Good luck tonight.
Good luck tonight, everybody. We're going to have more content coming up, so you don't have to go anywhere. We have the NFL Live Before Lock with Emac, Terry, Nick. That is going to be at 7:15 p.m. Eastern time. Looking forward to checking that out. You should be looking forward to checking that out as well. Great content leading you guys up to lock of, I believe it's Denver and Kansas City tonight, correct? Am I correct about that?
Baby.
Look what I did there. I know tomorrow's the big one. We're at lock here for the NBA. Looking forward to this slate. I'm going to go watch some football. We'll go watch some hoops. He's Matt LaMarca. He was really mean to me today. I'm Eric. I'm going to be really mean to Mike Zimmer on Twitter. We'll see you guys later.